Welcome to the year 2021 and our little series that we're going through and interviewing different staff members here at Ellerslie, some of our key team members. I love our team here at Ellerslie. Today we have Dan McConnaughey. Dan is sort of a legendary character at Ellerslie. I remember first semester at Ellerslie, they created a symbol. All you had to do is do this, and everyone knew you were talking about Dan McConnaughey. But Dan is one of those characters that makes you feel safe. I think it makes you feel safe doctrinally, so you're not just going to go wild and crazy and off the cliff that way, but also safe physically. I think all the students are always glad knowing that we have an ex-Special Forces guy lingering on campus, and he helps with our security, and there's just a lot of positives to Dan. One of my favorite Dan qualities is just his ability to teach and impart, his love for teaching. And Dan, you are just an amazing teacher. So in each of these little interviews, I just have a couple questions for each of our team members. And so Dan, I've prepped you. I have two questions. One is, what causes you to do what you do here at Ellerslie? And then the second one is your favorite spot on campus. Okay, so I've prepped you for that. So let's go to the first one. And that is, what causes you to do what you do here at Ellerslie? I mean, we're sort of a crazy lot, a strange group, and you're extra strange because you should be retired right now. You should be thinking about yourself. Instead, here you are, pouring out your life.
Well, I was raised in a family that was very disciplined and very directed and very active. And so I learned a lot how to be that way just growing up. But then when I was in the military, I was with a group called the Navigators, and that was probably some of the most significant spiritual growth in my life. And you put those two things together, and I watched my dad, for example, when he retired, he was grateful that he retired so that he would have enough time to serve others. And that's what he did. And so I learned from his example and from his training and how to be that kind of a person. And so I do a lot of what I do because I see the value in it from what I had in my own life. But there is a verse in Judges, it's chapter 2, and it mentions, starting about verse 7, mentions that all the time that Joshua was alive and the elders that served with him, the people followed the Lord. And then it says that Joshua died at the age of 110, and they buried him. And all that generation also were gathered to their fathers. And there arose another generation that knew not the Lord. And that's probably been one of the most significantly startling and striking verses in my life, to see that it takes one generation. And I see the possibility of that in my world. And so I have a great desire to not let that happen. Yeah. I want to see the next generation continue on following the Lord and be able to train the next generation also to follow the Lord.
I don't think many people truly can grasp how rare you and Sandy are in what you do and how you function. And like we said earlier, whereas most people have retired and are thinking about sort of their own life and the dreams that they had for their personal enjoyment in these years, you're spending those years radically for Jesus Christ. I mean, you're just about to leave for Belize, and what are you going down there for? To basically be a missionary, to build the church. And that is highly irregular. And so as a man who just turned 50, I'm looking at you guys as a model and as a pattern, because what does it look like? What does it look like to grow older? I'm not going to say old, grow older with grace and with Christ as your pursuit. And I just want to thank you, even in publicly and through this interview, for your modeling of that. It's been amazing for me as a man to witness that. What's it like, if you could be honest, seeing this generation coming in to be trained, is it frustrating as an older man to see the breakdown and the disintegration of foundations? Do you have excitement? Do you have hope for the future? Where are you at in dealing with this? It's I know what it's like for me as a 50-year-old to deal with it. What's it like for you?
Well, again, like I said, when I was raised, my dad was a drill instructor in the Marine Corps, so I had some pretty outstanding training growing up, and then being in the military, I got more of it. And so when I came to Ellerslie, I can remember wondering, can any good thing come out of this generation? And that was when I was early one morning, I was standing out on the concrete out there by the lake, and I heard a faint noise, and I looked around, and a young eagle, bald eagle, landed about 15 or 20 feet from me. Still had the tufts on his hair and on his feathers and so forth. And he just sat there and looked at me, and I looked at him, and we didn't say much, but there was definitely some communication there. And pretty soon he turned around and took off across the lake, huge wings, the tips touching the water, and he got to the other side and went up over the trees. And I really believe that God was expressing to me, because that was a young eagle.
Yeah.
And he demonstrated to me through that there was hope for this generation. Yeah. And so I have that desire. And I think one of the things that drives me most is John's statement in 3 John, where he says, I have no greater joy than to see my children walking in the truth. And I'm old enough to where it's not weird to say that when the students come here, I view them as my children. Yeah. Some of them my grandchildren, yeah. But mostly as my children. Yeah. And so I see that with my students, that I just so love seeing and hearing that they're walking in the truth.
Yeah. Thank you so much for just modeling that, Dan. It's been such a blessing to me to witness just that hope for the next generation. And I think all of us on this staff have needed that continued encouragement by the Holy Spirit. We need to all see our young eagles flying, those moments when God says, no, there's still hope. Keep walking in this direction. Keep pouring out. Because it's hard. This is hard work that you have been given by God, and yet you're carrying it with great strength. And so I just highly admire you, Dan. Okay, fun question.
One other thing.
Sure.
I think that we can expect to see those fledging accidents ever so often, where a little bit early, the eagle gets out and falls down, and work with that also. So we're not discouraged by those things either.
We have seen those, though.
Yes, we have seen those.
All right. So favorite spot on campus. How would you answer that?
Well, my favorite spot on campus is when I'm with a classroom full of students.
Doesn't matter if it's outside or inside.
Doesn't really matter where it is. There's some places that may be easier to be, but there's no place that's more of a favorite to me than with a class of eagerly receptive students.
You are in your element when those students are around, especially when they start raising their hand and asking questions. You just come to life at a whole nother level.
Even if they're challenging me.
That's great. Well, thanks, Dan, for all that you've done for Ellerslie. You're a huge
It's been
blessing.
a blessing to be a part of it.
Thanks. If you've ever had a desire to come to Ellerslie, but maybe finances were standing in the way, we have a great opportunity for you right now. We're giving away 10 full-ride scholarships up and through March 8th, 2021. So if you're hearing this before March 8th, then jump on it. Go to Ellerslie.com to learn more about that. If you hear this after March 8th, just know our passion is to not allow finances to stand in the way. So we have scholarships for you. Whatever we can do to serve you and wash your feet, please let us do it. God's blessings.